He is also one of the most overrated actors, in my opinion, and that's Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Welcome back, everybody, to the CV Central podcast. I'm your host, Jay.
And I'm your host, Chris. Hey, as we've said many times before, this is your soon to favorite place to be. All right? Tune in. Weekly content, raw, genuine, from your boys.
Hey, man, you already know we out here located Stockton, California. Your greatest sports takes that you're going to get nowhere else. We're not going to BS you like First Take or BS you like the Skip Bayless show. It's going to come straight from the heart, whether we agree, disagree.
Hey, 100%. We're not going to be like First Take. We're here to have hot takes, and we're not going to be undisputed that eventually failed. We plan to be undeniable. All right? The CVC is here to stay, and as long as we ride it out, man.
Yeah, man. So taking the week off, obviously, we've updated our schedule to upload once a week on Saturdays, but obviously during upcoming for football season, we're gonna up that to 2 times a day or 2 times a week. Sorry about that. But hey, man. Hey, we're just in it for the long haul.
Hey, we're in it for the long haul. For now, this is our format, and as things progress when it comes to, the style of this podcast, the subjects we talk about, as long as we grow and we're genuine in ourselves and, we don't try to be something that we're not, this is going to go as far as we let it, man.
Yeah, I just want to get this out the way. I'm wearing this bull shirt because I lost a bet. Yeah. I'm just going to leave it at that. No reason. I lost a bet, so I got to wear this bull shirt for this episode.
Yeah. All right. Happy wife, happy life, brother.
Amen.
All right.
Hey, but we got a few stuff to talk about today. We're gonna top this podcast off with 314 as it's on Saturday, but this segment I want to talk about the top 10 about your top 10 sport movies.
All right. Gotcha.
This is just kind of an us thing so that the audience can kind of get to know us.
Yeah. Because, from the first session that we just hit record, it was kind of just like 2 guys talking. But, what better than to let you know about your host, let you know more into Jay, let you know into more of Chris. But you said top 10 sports movies, and this was kind of just like thrown together. So I have no ranking of these. But I'm going to go ahead and go with Coach Carter. Solid basketball movie.
Are you going 10-1 or 1-10?
I'm going to say 1-10. I like Coach Carter a lot. At number 2, I got Remember the Titans. I really enjoy the movie. Just great football movie. Sorry. And then just like the racial discrepancies that were in that movie, and it being a Disney film and how far they went as far as how things were in the South and, how split race everything was. Us growing up watching these kind of movies was like, whoa, that was different because, we got multiracial families now. Some of us are related to multi-race people, whether by blood or by marriage. So to watch it on TV, it was like, oh, whites and blacks don't get along.
Yeah.
So that's number 2 for me. And then just the side of it just being a really great movie. I'm gonna go with The Blind Side, Michael Orr story. I really actually enjoy the movie, and just the little brother big brother factor that played in the movie when in the car accident. Really great scene. I really enjoy that. A classic, I'm gonna go with The Little Giants. It kind of inspired a lot of our younger generation to watch football and also participate in Pop Warner sports. Because normally if you weren't into Pop Warner, you were just watching NFL.
Yeah.
I also got The Waterboy. Great movie. I feel like you can make fun of the way that the character was portrayed, but at the end of the day, it's such a classic, such a great Adam Sandler movie, and
Bobby Boucher is the GOAT.
It's one of the reasons why like I'll always like randomly say H2O. Gridiron Gang is solid too, because just getting to see some of the effects that do happen in the juvenile system, and you know, it providing a second chance to those kind of people, those kind of kids where, you know, they haven't made the best life decisions and they get a second chance when it came to sports. Another movie that kind of has that same script is The Longest Yard. You know, you got inmates playing football, and again, from the Adam Sandler tree, great film. So many people in that movie.
Yeah.
So many, from artists, actors, wrestlers.
You had WWE fans. You had the Great Khali in that movie.
Yeah.
You had Goldberg in that movie. You had Stone Cold.
You got Kevin Nash.
Yeah, Kevin Nash was in the movie.
I got Double Teamed. It's a Disney film. For those of you that like your Disney original movies, it's the one with the two twin sisters that play basketball. One's a little more of a tomboy than the other, and they end up both becoming athletes. And I believe that's based on a true story. I'll have to fact check that, but I want to say it is based on a true story with two twins that actually did go to the same high school, played basketball together, and were eventually both in the WNBA. I also have Rocky 3, great boxing movie. One of my favorite Rocky movies. My honorable mention is actually fourth. Just with how the story grew and the characters that, you know, you get introduced into. Ivan Drago, you got Apollo Creed, and just the never say die attitude of Rocky Balboa. And just the great underdog story to becoming the Italian stallion. And lastly, I mean, if you're a football fan, you know this movie. It's also a Disney original movie. The movie Rudy, really great football film, such a classic. And yeah, that's it for me, man.
All right, I'm gonna get into my top 10 movies. Honorable mentions, don't come after me, but honorable mentions, I have The Longest Yard and Remember the Titans. Some people might come after me for that, but I've never watched Remember the Titans, so I can't really put a movie in a position that I've never watched. So for me, number 10 is going to be Rookie of the Year.
Okay.
Phenomenal baseball movie about a little kid, breaks his arm, ends up being able to throw piss missiles when he went to the Cubs.
Okay.
Number 9 for me, I'm a big hockey fan, so that's going to go to the Mighty Ducks. Whether that's the Mighty Ducks 1, 2, or 3, great movies all around.
Just a solid franchise.
One of the best.
And it's solid to see those films where you get to watch the cast itself grow up in front of your eyes. Where they retain like everybody that was in the original film, you know? Yeah.
Number 8 is Coach Carter. Like you said, one of the best films. I mean, in my opinion, all of these are great films.
Yeah. They definitely all hold.
Yeah, they hold some sort of sentimental value to each individual person.
Yeah.
Number 7, Invincible, based on a true story starring Mark Wahlberg. I can never remember the guy's name that it's based off of, but he ends up playing for the Eagles at some point back in the late 70s. I
completely forgot about this movie.
Yeah, Invincible, one of my favorite movies. Number 6, this one's more comedic, but Dodgeball.
Solid movie.
Dodgeball.
That's a solid movie.
A very comedic movie. When it comes to sports, you don't really see that much often.
Yeah.
But Dodgeball is one of those movies that made it work.
Yeah.
Number 5, I mean, this is probably the most well-known franchise of all time when it comes to sports movies, and that's The Sandlot.
Can't go wrong with The Sandlot.
No, can't go wrong with The Sandlot. I mean, I mean, when you go from the plot to the big monster ends up just being a dog.
Yeah.
And then you have the second Sandlot, which in my opinion wasn't as good, but it was still a good movie.
Yeah.
Number 4, my favorite Adam Sandler movie, Happy Gilmore.
That's a good one.
Hockey player turned golf. Grandma or mom, I believe it was grandma, loses the house, so he has to turn to golf to be able to buy back the house. And number 3, which was your number 1, Rudy. I mean, come on now.
Yeah.
It's about Notre Dame.
Yeah.
One of the most prestigious colleges, and you get a movie made after it. And I'm just a fan of those movies where they're based on true stories. But one thing I found out when I was digging a little into the sports movies and whether I wanted to put them in my top 10, it turns out that Rudy was not as portrayed as he was in the movie. Apparently he was kind of a competitive, arrogant asshole. I want to refrain from cussing on this channel, but
just know sometimes you're gonna have those sound bites where we feel passionate about something. It's just gonna happen.
Yeah, it's gonna happen. Number 2, based on a true movie about Team USA when they beat the Russian team, and that's Miracle. Another great hockey movie, in my opinion, the best hockey movie. And number 1, in my opinion, the greatest football movie of all time, and that's The Little Giants. I mean, everything about The Little Giants is great, from the plot to even just watching the game itself. Like, I know there's a scene where Johnny, the little kid, is running, never sees his dad, and then his dad pulls up in front of the goalpost, and then he runs about 80 yards across the field for a touchdown. And it touches, especially if you're an older person with a kid that plays Pop Warner football. That's something that can almost reflect off of you.
And then even for a child playing Pop Warner too, getting to see a moment like that, us as kids, when we make moments for ourselves, and your number 1 fan aside from a potential relationship that you're in is going to be your parents. And when they show out for you, it means something.
Yeah, I mean, I know when I played, seeing my parents in the stands always meant something.
Yeah.
All right, moving off of the top 10 sports movies, we're gonna move into the NFL. I don't know what you have, but I'm gonna talk a little about OTAs. So NFL teams have started off-season workouts. Some of those teams, namely the Bears, the Patriots, and the Jets. The Cowboys start their OTAs April 14th. And mandatory minicamp starts June 10th through June 12th. So, I mean, minicamps, OTAs are around the corner. Season's going to start a lot faster than you think it is. Yeah. Where do you think, when you think of a team like the Patriots or the Jets, I want to say more so the Jets, where's their mindset going into this season?
I mean, you don't have a solid quarterback just yet.
No.
I mean, they got Justin Fields. I love Justin Fields.
They have Justin Fields, and they also have Jordan Travis, who is really good at Florida State.
Jordan Travis is very underrated. Very underrated.
He was really good at Florida State, but he just hasn't had a chance yet.
He also, I believe, in his last college year, did suffer an injury that did hinder his draft stock.
Yeah.
And I want to say that he had a lot of NFL comps to Jordan Love. When it comes to Justin Fields, though, I just like that he's getting an opportunity. He gets to reunite with Garrett Wilson. They have that Ohio State University Buckeye connection there. And it'll add to the potential shared backfield that they're going to have, because Aaron Glenn did come out and say that he plans to run by running back committee, which I don't know what that means for Breece Hall's future, because you did draft Braylon Allen. They liked the kid.
Braylon Allen, I will say, is going to be a stud of a back. I mean, the dude is younger than me. I'm 21. He's 20. And I mean, when you look at a 6-foot back that can be the bell cow.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's Derrick Henry.
No.
But in terms of the way they run, he can almost get to that.
And when it comes to, like, you know, associated by draft class, I think he'll be a better running back than Blake Corum. Mostly because I think the confidence that the Rams have in Kyren Williams is not the same when it comes to the Jets with Breece Hall. So I think he'll get more of an opportunity to develop and turn into that lead back eventually. But adding Justin Fields into that backfield is going to be solid because to me, Justin Fields is just a good coaching situation away from turning into a light-skinned Lamar Jackson.
Wow. Yeah. So in other news, Quinn Ewers, I know the Raiders are looking for a quarterback. Quinn Ewers actually visited with the Las Vegas Raiders, but another team that might surprise you is he visited with the Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah, there's a lot of, you know, doubt when it comes to Anthony Richardson.
I know I'm one of those doubters. And if Richardson proves me wrong this season, I would like to see him prove me wrong. But as of right now, I was never high on Anthony Richardson. Watching him play, I've said this on the podcast multiple times before, but Anthony Richardson, honestly, is just like what Cam Newton was on the Patriots. He was just a Patriots Cam Newton.
Yeah. I think the injuries set him back as well. And just how good of a rookie year CJ Stroud has, which I also stated, like, it did affect the spotlight,
the norm.
Yeah, that you would have against Anthony Richardson and a Bryce Young now.
And it doesn't help with the year Jaden Daniels just had either.
Yeah, no.
Because now teams are like, well, damn, if Daniels could do it, why can't you do it?
Yeah. Daniel Jones is going to give Anthony Richardson a run for his money. It's Daniel Jones's job to win and Anthony Richardson's job to lose.
Yeah, I said this on the podcast. I believe it was episode 9 or 8. I believe it was one of those before we started doing this on video. But I do have Daniel Jones coming out at minicamp as QB1.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised just because more experience. Say what you want to say about the Giants and Brian Dable. I mean, yeah, they gave up on Saquon Barkley, who turned into that almost MVP of the year last year. I think Daniel Jones is a decent QB, especially when you have such a stud but struggling young quarterback, and you could come in and plug a guy that's been in those games, been in somewhat of a position where he's known to be a starter. Like I said, it's Daniel Jones's job to lose.
Yeah, and I think I think Jones just needs a good running game with him too, because we saw it with Barkley. We know about Jonathan Taylor on the Colts.
Yeah,
we'll see how Daniel Jones does, but I'm excited to see what the Colts do, especially since they play in the AFC South, which is, I mean, all you got to do is get by Houston, which, you know, easier said than done. But other than that, you don't really have to worry about competing for a team in second place, like if you're in the North or if you're Dallas in the East.
Yeah, and, you know, Indianapolis is one of those teams that you don't think about any of the receivers being a top 15 wide receiver, but they do have guys that can play. Yeah. You got Josh Downs, Michael
Pittman, obviously, Mo Alley Cox, who's a pretty underrated tight end.
Yeah, he's a stud.
Yeah, but hey, we'll just see what the Colts do. Next piece of news. I tried finding why the Raiders would do this, because I thought Jack Jones was a solid DB. I tried diving into as much research as I could, but nothing really stood out. But you know, obviously, Jack Jones released by the Raiders, who was probably their best DB besides Nate Hobbs. But from what I could see when I saw it on research, was this cut saves them about $3.5 million in cap space, and apparently, from what I could see, was that he was just a locker room cancer, and that Pete Carroll was just over it.
I mean, you know, Pete Carroll's going to turn that team into something of his image. You already see that with Geno Smith coming in there. And and depends where they go in the draft, right? They still need an answer at running back. That O-line still needs work because Colton Miller had a decent year last year, but he's going to need help on that O-line. This isn't the Raiders O-line that you had before, where you had Gabe Jackson, Rodney Hudson. You had your surefire guys on that O-line. And then you still need to work at the receiver position. You need some answers at the linebacker position, which I forget the linebacker's name. But he's a stud for them. I keep thinking of Kwiatkowski.
Linebacker?
Yes.
For the Raiders?
If AJ listens to this podcast, he's gonna give me hell for not remembering those players.
So it's not
Divine Diablo because he's not on the roster anymore.
It's not
he was on AJ's fantasy team.
What's his name with the Raiders?
What's brain farting so bad right now?
Well, it's not Rob Spillane because he went to the Patriots.
It was Rob Spillane. He's not on the team anymore.
No, he went to the Patriots.
See, they really just blew up this team. They blew it up so bad because,
which I said in one of our previous episodes when I brought up the most underrated signings in free agency, I said Rob Spillane's name.
Yeah, this team needs so much work.
Yeah,
so much.
And I think they're gonna get Genty with the running back. At number 6. But then after that in the draft, I mean, Raiders just got to go O-line because you can't draft Genty, trade for your quarterback, and still have the same O-line from last year.
Yeah. And you got veterans on that team that are not going to be happy with the direction of this roster. You got Crosby, who plug him in on any other team. He's competing. He's helping a team compete sideways.
But I mean, obviously Crosby saw something if he was willing to sign the max contract.
Yeah. And it's not like he wouldn't have gotten that money anywhere else, but he believes in that team. He's happy there. He's content being on that roster. So, yeah, Jack Jones, Nate Hobbs no longer on the roster. Trayvon Morig is no longer there as well. So that DB room needs some attention. And does that lead to a potential drafting of Travis Hunter instead of Genty if Hunter were to slip that far? I don't know. I know they've had ties on some mock drafts to Jalen Milroe, but I don't see him going that high. And it's one of those things that he has a ceiling. Now, where is he going to take you? Are you willing to develop him? Or do you do what we've touched on before? Do the template of the Falcons. Get all your key pieces now and then get your quarterback.
Yeah.
And I keep saying it's Archie Manning. Brady has ties to the Manning family. I could see the Raiders. They didn't tank for Jalen Daniels. They didn't tank for CJ Stroud, and they didn't tank for Caleb Williams. So are they finally going to tank for their guy and that be Archie Manning?
I mean, it'd be the wise thing, but I mean, time can only tell.
Yeah.
Next thing, Julio Jones retires after 13 years, I believe, in the league.
Yeah.
First ballot Hall of Famer.
Absolutely.
Without a doubt. Yeah. When you think of how good Julio was, especially how great the receivers were at the time, you had prime Odell, you had prime Antonio Brown.
Yeah.
You had who else was in? You had
prime AJ Green.
You had AJ Green at the time. You had Devontae Adams, who at the time was starting to come out onto his own. Julio Jones, one of the most dominant receivers that's ever touched the football.
Yeah.
I mean, you could say Calvin Johnson. Calvin Johnson's obviously up there too.
Yeah.
But Julio Jones was, after Calvin Johnson retired, Julio Jones was the guy.
They're those guys, especially those two, that are just one-of-ones where you could say, like, oh, at this point in time, there was a number one receiver. But Julio Jones was also in that era. So it's like, okay, Devontae Adams could have all the accolades, but Julio Jones is a better receiver.
Yeah.
And then you can have, of this era, Justin Jefferson. You would still take Julio Jones. It's sad to see him go. And now it's up to these receivers coming up and possibly in this draft class. or the guys that are in there now, who's going to be the next anomaly like Julio, like a Calvin Johnson, where whether they win it all or not, you knew that defenses were legit scheming, like, how are we going to stop these two guys? You know, Calvin Johnson, famous videos of him getting double covered, triple covered. Julio Jones, it was a busy day at the office for any DB that was going to be up against that guy. Literally impossible to stop.
And I mean, the only guy to stop Calvin Johnson was Darrelle Revis, who held him for 3 yards, 13 yards, 3 catches.
And you can't really say that a lot about guys going up against Julio. I know like Darius Slay had some good games against him, but you can't say that there was like that one DB that locked him up.
Yeah, because regardless, everybody's gonna have like their off night, quote unquote. But there really wasn't a DB for Megatron or Julio that consistently, night in, night out, every time you played them, you weren't going to do anything.
And these are those guys that are like so impactful, so game changing, and such a physical presence that they have. I put them in that tier of like the best of their era, as far as like how you would say T.O. was. Yeah, he was divisive in locker rooms, allegedly, and you know, a diva type of receiver, but the impact that he would make on the teams that he would be with, and against the teams that he would play against, is the same impact that I would say a Calvin Johnson and Julio at. Now, when you bring up accolades and records and all, obviously T.O. takes the cake against those two, but because they also don't have rings. But that type of receiver, that's how I see these two guys. Another guy that I throw in that bracket is also a champion, would be a guy like Mike Evans. Yeah. Who I've said on this podcast doesn't get enough love. No. The fact that he's never in the top 5, top 3 conversation is just disrespectful. To me, he's become the modern day Larry Fitzgerald. Yeah. But I mean, NFL is just a crazy sport, man. It is. Like you don't know who's gonna flourish at some point. You don't know who's gonna diminish after they flourish. And sometimes it only takes a season. You'll see a guy like pop off for a season, and he's gone the next year. Yeah. And it's not even like a rookie one and done. You'll have guys that have been in the league that are somewhat established, and then they'll have a great year and get a payday and get a lot of recognition. I could bring up a quick example of Zach Bond. You know, I could bring up Kenny Galladay. Yeah, the year he had with the Lions, ends up taking the contract with the Giants, and I mean, he disappeared after that. Yeah, yeah. I mean, the fact that he never surpassed at the time Sterling Shepard, Darius Slade, and Odell on that roster. You know, he was just a guy that was just collecting the payday, to be honest. Yeah. Well, with the draft upcoming, Mel Kiper, you know, he's very famous for his mock drafts. He has Shedeur Sanders slip into the 9th pick to the Saints. How do you feel about that? Or should I say, do you think he should slip like these mocks have had, or do you think a team should buy in on the ceiling that he has? I think in terms of him slipping is going to happen, but not in the sense that they don't think he's talented enough or whatever the case is. He's going to slip based off team needs. When you look at everybody in the first picks up until you get to the Saints at 9, Titans at 1, they need a quarterback. Whether they take Cam Ward or Shedeur, or they go edge rusher at Abdul Carter. Browns need a quarterback, but I don't necessarily think they're going to go quarterback. 3, who's picking 3? I think it's the Patriots. Patriots might be picking 3 or 4. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, but we probably should have had the picks in front of us, but either way, but not really quarterback needy teams aside from one. If you are the Titans, why do you take Cam Ward over Shedeur Sanders? Me personally, I wouldn't take Cam Ward over Shedeur. I think Shedeur is going to be the better quarterback. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to that Shedeur is going to have a great career.
I just think in terms of the NFL, whether they be solid quarterbacks to just suffice the starting position until they decide to move on, I think Shador is the better quarterback option. When you look at Cam Ward and Shador's stats in college, Shador and Cam Ward had pretty much the equivalent amount of sacks, when Shador had a bottom 20 offensive line in all of college football. That includes all 132 teams, whatever the number is. Cam Ward had one of the best offensive lines in the nation.
Yeah. Well, wherever he ends up going, I think it'll tie in a lot to his ties and influence with his own father.
Yeah.
And I believe it's the Giants actually picking third.
It could be the Giants.
I think it is the Giants, because they have ties to Shador as well.
Yeah.
But, you know, when you have the guys that are best at their position, it does hinder these classes where the draft class for the QB is not as heavy as we've seen before, where you literally have the first 5 picks being quarterbacks or first 4 picks being quarterbacks. You saw that the Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance draft class. You know, you've seen that with multiple classes where quarterbacks get taken. And even if they end up becoming franchise quarterbacks or not. But right now you have guys that are like top tier of their college position at their level that could transition well into the league. You got Ashton Genty, in my opinion, is the best running back in college. You got Abdul Carter.
I disagree with that, but that's for another take.
That's for another take. You got Abdul Carter, one of the best edge rushers, outside linebackers in college as well. And then you have Travis Hunter, who we'll see what position he is stronger at. I think he should play receiver, but if he just decides to be a DB, or if a team does take a chance on him to use him in both roles, but just him being available could hinder his own college teammate of a team taking him and taking a guy that, you know, can do so much.
Yeah. All right, that's it.
All right. Like we've been introducing the past, well, mainly last week, you know, we'll introduce like certain little topics into this. Like he started Factor Destroy last week. I also want to bring something to the table and just have like somewhat of a hot take question, and just, you know, get you to brainstorm. Also helps me gather my thoughts and we bounce off of each other. So I'm gonna go ahead and ask you, Jesse J, my co-host,
what's up?
Who is to you the most overrated athlete? Could be entertainment based, could be combat sports, NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL, etc. Overall, who is the number one most overrated athlete in your eyes?
Most overrated athlete in my eyes. He is not only one of the most overrated athletes in my opinion. He is also one of the most overrated actors in my opinion, and that's Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. When you look at him in the WWE, good wrestler, great wrestler in ring, but I'm steering more towards his acting, and his prime in WWE is one of the best. There's no denying that. But when he came back for WrestleMania 29 and 28, it just wasn't the same. And people were trying to hype it up. You know, The Rock, obviously, people's elbow, rock bottom. But in terms of his actual wrestling in the ring, aside from those two moves, were just kind of mid to me. And he's also the most overrated actor, in my opinion. I feel like Hollywood just throws a bag at him, and he just kind of goes with it.
Okay. Super hot take. That was a really hot take. Well, great seller. You know, one of the guys that took the stunner the best.
Oh yeah. top 2 sellers in the WWE aside Dolph Ziggler.
Of the era that he comes from, the Attitude Era, there's a 1A and 1B. A lot of people will give the dub to Stone Cold Steve Austin being the 1A. In his return, they try to book him as like the Hogan versus Rock when it was Rock versus Cena. He did come back at a time where a lot of other guys probably deserved the position for the top billing of those two Manias. CM Punk never got his main event, and one of the hotter stories of the year was CM Punk versus Cena, and instead we got Rock versus Cena.
Yeah.
So yeah, a really hot take. Not where I thought you were going.
Where do you think I was gonna go?
I mean, we could either save it or... But I honestly thought you were going to say Jordan. Just because I know how much of a LeBron guy you are. And...
Just because I have LeBron as my GOAT doesn't diminish the fact that I know or I'm aware of Jordan's success, whether if it's his career off the court or on the court.
Yeah.
I know what Jordan did for the game. He influenced the game like no other. There's no doubt about that. Yeah. He's not my personal GOAT, and that's just based off the fact I never watched him.
Yeah.
So I can't say someone's a GOAT if I've never watched him. That's just how I feel about it. Same reason why I say Alex Ovechkin or Sidney Crosby are my 2 GOATs. I know a lot of people say Wayne Gretzky, but I never watched it. A lot of stuff changes, like the equipment and goalies use today. It's much harder to score now than it was in Wayne Gretzky's time.
Yeah, and it's like we've said before. A lot of people's GOAT quarterback is Tom Brady, because either it's a mix of recency bias or they just never watched Joe Montana, and you just learn to appreciate the longevity that Brady had, which I go back to. I don't understand LeBron versus Michael Jordan. Yeah. But, we could go on and on when it comes to that. But
we could go on and on. Yeah. But let's just get into Fact or Destroy, NFL edition.
Let's go.
All right. Caleb Williams will lead Bears to the playoffs.
I'm going to say fact, but I see them going nowhere more than farther than a wild card team.
I agree.
And I see them as a first exit. I don't see them winning a playoff game. But how I take them over the Vikings right now, regardless of the level of talent that is on the Vikings, the fact that the unknown that you have in JJ McCarthy opens up the door for Caleb Williams. As far as, Kirk Cousins, a really great regular season quarterback. If the Vikings are able to get Aaron Rodgers, I might change that idea. But I give him the wild card, and that's about it.
All right. Tyreek Hill gets traded by draft day.
See, that has to do with the suitor. I can see that as a fact. But
there are rumors. I've been kind of digging a little into it, but there are rumors that the Philadelphia Eagles are looking to make a big splash on draft day. A lot of it is tied to Tyreek Hill. We'll see whether if Tyreek gets traded, but
if Cheetah were to get traded, I see him going back to
Kansas City. Yeah. All right. Packers draft their first wide receiver in the first round in 23 years since 2002. The Packers GM has spent a lot of time scouting wide receivers, most notably Tedero and McMillan and Emeka Egbuka and Isaiah Bond from Texas.
Out of those 3, Egbuka is the one I'm the most familiar with.
Honestly, out of those 3, I would want Isaiah Bond.
Out of those 3, I'm most familiar with Egbuka, but I feel like you guys do go with the high ceiling McMillan. So I'm gonna go with fact, because of position need. I mean, there's other needs for the Packers, but still, so much talent in that receiver room and not a clear number one. Or, maybe I'm wrong, and one of those guys does break through the glass ceiling.
Whether that's Jaden Reed
or
Wiggs
Devontae Wiggs
or Dog.
Yeah.
Dobbs.
Still got Christian Watson.
I don't expect Watson to be on the roster by trade deadline.
Yeah.
All right. Justin Herbert is overrated due his lack of playoff success.
I'll go fact as well. But the argument that I'll make is that he now has a really solid coach. Now, I'm not going to say that Brandon Staley wasn't a good coach.
He wasn't.
But Harbaugh and just him getting... He only got a season, and I know what he did for my 49ers.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he did capitalize on some pieces already being there. Some of those guys he didn't draft. But just the presence he has as a coach and the seasonedness he has as an NFL coach and the ties he has to the Chargers, I feel like if there's anybody that could turn around for Herbert is Harbaugh. So overrated, yes, but there was always a star built behind him on his success in Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of overshadowed by Bo Nix.
Mm-hmm.
Also an Oregon quarterback.
Yeah, and I know Herbert wasn't really stouted that good at Oregon because the OC at the time just had Herbert throwing bubbles and slip screens all year.
Yeah, I think it just takes that right coach.
Yeah,
and
it does.
This is a sophomore year between them two as a unit of head coach and quarterback. If Harbaugh was going to come in and blow up the team, it would have been last year because he was there prior to draft. He could have gotten JJ McCarthy if he wanted to,
Mm-hmm.
and kept the Michigan ties. He decided to go with Justin Herbert and build onto the O-line that was already being built for him. You know, previously they got Rashawn Slater, they got Joe Alt in there. So you believe in protecting this quarterback that you have.
Yeah.
Or you believe in
and
building.
then you also draft Ladd McConkey. So you obviously saw something in Ladd who
Mm-hmm.
I thought was going to be a first round receiver, but ended up falling.
Yeah.
But all right, next one. Derek Carr was forced out of Vegas.
Oh, fact, and unrightfully so, because I get it. He maybe overextended his stay, but the the carousel of coaches that he had, which his best one, in my opinion, was Jack Del Rio. I feel like the year that they had Jack Del Rio and they made that playoff push, the year that he gets hurt and he had his MVP candidacy ripped away from him because of the injury, that led to Gruden coming in there and all these guys getting rid of the team. The moment that they got rid of Khalil Mack and Amari Cooper in the same year let you know that it was going to be Carr to shoulder everything.
Mm-hmm.
And the one time you go out and get him a solid number one receiver, you didn't even let him finish the season.
Yeah. And not even that. You then proceed to go draft what seems to be a generational tight end in Brock Bowers.
Yeah. I'm surprised that the Raiders didn't make a play to get Carr back.
I'm not, just in the sense of how it ended.
Yeah.
I don't see a reason for someone to push someone out the door and just be like, hey, you want to come back? We'll give you this and you could come on back. Especially if you ended up, if you're Derek Carr and you saw that you were getting traded back to Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm Carr, I'm feeling some type of way.
Oh, for sure.
Because it's like you just pushed me out the door,
Mm-hmm.
but now you want me back.
And you get rid of all of your best players. This is again why I say I don't know how Crosby decided to stay there.
No, I don't think Crosby, I don't think Myles Garrett should have stood with their teams.
No.
All right. Last one for Fact or Destroy. The Niners are just a premium Cowboys.
I'm gonna destroy that because
How so?
All right, I get the comparisons, right? There's so much clout built around both teams. One of those teams is a lot more proven than the other. One of those teams can actually win a playoff game. One of those teams can actually get to the Super Bowl.
But then what if I told you the Niners? No, excuse me. The Cowboys have a more recent Super Bowl win than the Niners.
When's the last time that the Cowboys won an NFC championship game?
When was the last time Niners won the Super Bowl?
Again, all right. Look, we can go back and forth on it. But out of the best of the NFC, we've been there.
You have.
We've been there. And the guy that we lost to is touted to be the next greatest quarterback of this era. So it's not like we went and lost just to anybody. I mean, it's not like the loss to Joe Flacco, which we didn't lose to Joe Flacco. We lost to Ray Lewis and Ed Reed.
Yeah.
We were out-coached by the better Harbaugh at the time. So I wouldn't say we lost Joe Flacco. We lost to a really lucky play by Jacoby Jones, who ran that punt return. But it takes a lot to get there. And you got a team that has said every year they're going to the Super Bowl. They're going to the Super Bowl. They're going to the Super Bowl. Where the fan base has literally clamored for the literal death of their franchise's owner so that the team can change. The fans have become convinced he's going to build through the draft. He's not going to go out and get the flashy free agent signings. Now, the Niners do. We'll go out and get those pieces. Whether they are successful or not, we just bite the bullet and then see it through. Mm-hmm. Christian McCaffrey, saw it through. Trent Williams, we saw it through. Chase Young, failure. So I
wouldn't say Chase Young was a failure, just more so.
When you look at the effort of play,
yeah,
it was a high sell for us, and you could just tell he didn't want to be there.
It was just the fact that
he didn't want to play second fiddle. He didn't want to play second fiddle. You could tell. It's Nick Bosa's D line, and Chase Young is a guy that wants to be featured on a D line. Mm-hmm. And he might get to do that. I believe he's with New Orleans.
Just signed I want to say 3-year extension.
Yeah, so he might get to do that because Cameron Jordan's on the way out. So he might be that new feature DN. But to say that they are on the same level in landscape, I strongly disagree.
Well, I didn't say that they're on the same level as the Cowboys. I just said they're a more premium version of them.
I would put us more so in the scale of, although these teams have actually won the big game, but the way that they are constructed and the way that they get to that game, and the believing in your free agents, believing in your draft picks, and just letting it all come together. I put them up there with the Eagles, and I put them up there with the Rams. I wouldn't say we're the Chiefs. I wouldn't say we're the next Patriots. I wouldn't say we're a dynasty, but we draft well. We believe in our free agent signings, and this is one of those years again. Is it time to rebuild, or is the last shot that we got?
In my opinion, I thought your Super Bowl. I think your Super Bowl window. I think your last year is this year.
I think
after this year, I believe you guys have 20, 30 some odd free agents.
I think our Super Bowl window has closed, and I say that with so much pain. I think it's closed due to the fact that you got to pay Brock Purdy. A lot of guys ain't coming back to the team. A lot of guys have built a name off this roster, and they're going to take their value and go get themselves a bag. And we're going to have a new generation of 49ers players drafted and playing for us, and trying to maintain the idea of what we are. But the reason why I say it's closed,
you have good players like Malik Mustafa, who's kind of taking that identity of the Niners defense, and then you obviously bring back Robert Saleh, who. Say what you want about a head coach, but there's no denying.
There's no Fred Warner without Robert Saleh and Quan Alexander.
Because even the year you guys got Quan Alexander, Robert Saleh made him seem like made him back into the Tampa Bay Quan Alexander.
But the other reason why I say we've closed is the NFC has only gotten better and better. Detroit is coming. The Commanders are going back. The Eagles are still there. And there's teams getting better and better and better.
Yeah.
But one team that I know, whether we lose to them in the regular season or not, that are not going to get in the position that we've gotten to is the Cowboys. And I say that with complete disrespect.
All right.
Again, we refrain from cussing, but one time only. It is always and always will be fuck Dallas.
All right, man. All right, we're just gonna cap the NBA real quick. I kind of want to get into UFC. Spend more time on UFC a little more, and we could just wrap this show up. So the Cavs clinched the number 1 seed, first time since 2016, the year of the 3-1 comeback. Cavs second best team in the league behind OKC. In my opinion, well, that's what most people say. In my opinion, I think Cavs are the best team. I don't think OKC is the best team in the league. Say what you want. Argue with me.
I mean, when you compare the starting fives against each other, the Cavs are definitely way more talented. They're position to position.
You're
arguably,
if we got to an NBA Finals where we're looking at the Thunder and the Cavs, it is going to be best offense versus the best defense. And I mean, playoffs are around the corner, April 13th, next week already.
And I think
that's Sunday.
Yeah, I think the only upper hand you would have in that matchup is the Shea versus Garland.
Yeah,
but other than that,
everyone else on the
Cavs capitalizes.
All right. As we're recording this, it is Wednesday, April 9th. So today was the day. By the time you guys are seeing this is 2 days past. But Luka's homecoming to Dallas. Luka drops 40 points in his reunion.
31 and a half. And when you talk about trade partners, AD, which I'll make a case for him, he only had 4 points by the half, but they made it clear AD coming to Dallas was a defensive move.
Yeah,
he wasn't meant there to become a scorer. He was there to add to what you already have in your big men with Lively and Gafford.
Yeah, and when you just watch the Mavericks play, it's not like AD on the Lakers where you fed him the ball in the paint. It's AD get it in the post and then he's kicking it back out. Yeah. And then AD shined on defense, and we saw that during this game. Yeah. But Luka's offense is just too much.
It's too much. And then
especially when you go, okay, you put your best, say for instance, you put your best player, your best defender on the Lakers.
Yeah.
Who are you gonna put him on? Say you put him on Luka. All right. Who are you gonna put on Bron? All right. Who are you going to put on Austin Reeves, who's kind of came out on his own now?
Yeah.
And then you even have solid players on the Lakers that are contributing. Gabe Vincent, even after Lakers fans have been saying to trade him, he finally found his jump shot, and he's been solid. Vanderbilt, very critical of his offense.
Yeah.
But he's very hustler. He's a stout, hard-nosed defender, and he's also tough on the boards. And I mean, he gets those.
He's finally turning into what you expected him to be when you
first got him. Yeah. And I know I was critical of them why they haven't traded him yet, but then I step back and I'm like, okay, this dude's been hurt for over a year now.
Yeah.
Maybe it's time to look somewhere else, or maybe we just trust the process.
Yeah.
And I mean, Joel Embiid, trust the process. We see what happens now. Sorry, Sixer fans. Sorry, Sixer fans. Sorry. One last time. Sorry, Sixer fans.
Sorry, Sixers.
All right.
Again, on the CVC Central, we don't mean to cause you any, frustration. But again, we are two fans of our own teams, and we deal with our own stuff, and this is a medium for us to bring it out to you guys. So once again, you guys go through the pain with us as you will go through the highs with us.
Yep. All right, last one's and kind of a questionable one. The Nuggets fire Mike Malone and GM Calvin Booth. Mike Malone being the most winningest head coach
10-year tenure with the team.
The most winningest head coach since he's been hired.
Yeah, back in 2015. I look at it as I was actually watching one of the.
Well, I was researching into it, and I was kind of looking, and from what I can see, it just seemed like the GM Calvin Booth and Mike Malone were kind of butting heads all the time.
Mhm.
From a report I saw, they went 6 months without talking, and that's hard, especially when you're a GM. It's like, I'm not going to talk to this dude who I'm expected to coach my team, and then vice versa. Like, okay, I'm not going to talk to this dude who's going to give me the players to coach. I don't know who's coming in.
Do you think that, which most teams find themselves that they should,
in my opinion, now that Mike Malone is a free agent head coach, a good fit for him would be A, the Sacramento Kings,
that would be solid,
or B, the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah, the Phoenix Suns, but you probably build on a lot there and build around D-Book, to be honest.
I think the Suns should look to trade Kevin Durant at the end of the year.
Yeah. What I was gonna ask you is, do you think this is a organizational move, or do you think this was something that was ran by Joker as well?
I think.
And also, just lastly, do you think that they brought it up to their star player that, look, we are going to get rid of the GM and get rid of our head coach?
There's no doubt that they ran it by Joker. Whether Joker agreed with it or not, I believe they were going to do it regardless.
With that being said, though, what do you think that now means for the locker room? If your star player says, hey, they're going to fire the head coach, I'm fine with it. Is it now portrayed as, okay, we already knew this was Joker's team. Does he have a say on the next head coach?
Well, I think the writing on. I think in my opinion, Mike Malone. I didn't think it was gonna happen, but I'm not shocked that it happened. If that makes sense. We obviously, now that new news comes out, him and GM Calvin Booth have been butting heads a lot. And when you just look at how the Nuggets have been this year, there was the interview he had where he was calling out his players for not watching film. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah. He was said to be very verbal against these players, and that's always been his approach.
He was, and when it got to that point, I figured Mike Malone might have gotten some sort of like I don't want to say discomfort, but more kind of like, well, you just talked on me, why the hell would I listen to you?
Yeah.
And I believe that interview kind of ultimately led to his firing, which I didn't think was going to happen, especially since we're 3 games out of the playoffs
and 2 years separated from them winning a NBA title.
Yeah, and you were 1 play away from the conference championship last year.
It's like if so I'll give you guys an NFL comp. If this NFL coach has had his
I actually said the equivalent to this. I actually said this would have been like if Sean McVay had gotten fired 2 years after the Rams won the Super Bowl.
See, I was going to say this is like if Mike Tomlin was fired because of the long tenure, but had he recently won a Super Bowl. Now, he hasn't recently won a Super Bowl, but it is a guy that's been there. He's been part of the organization. He's been a staple to the team, like Mike Malone has become for the Nuggets, and to just see him gone, it's strange.
Yeah. Let's get into UFC 314. UFC 314 coming on this Saturday, April 13th.
Is it April 13th?
No, April 12th. April 12th.
Got you.
All
right.
So I'm going to just go from, I picked out a few early prelim fights and some prelim fights, and then the main cards, obviously.
Gotcha.
I just kind of want to get our official predictions before Saturday. So one of the fights that kind of stands out to me a little bit on the early prelims is Tresean Gore and Marco Tulio.
Yeah. Gore being, one of those tough enough guys. Sorry, not tough enough.
Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah, Ultimate Fighter. That's the WWE's version of the Ultimate Fighter. But yeah, he gained some traction on the Ultimate Fighter, and he's had some fights as a contracted fighter. Hasn't seen a lot of success. This could be a bounce back fight for him.
All right, next one. Darren Elkins versus Julian Erosa. Erosa right now minus 380 favorite.
This is in the featherweight division. I'm actually going to take Darren Elkins.
All right, I got Erosa that fight.
Okay.
Jan Xiaonan versus Virna Yandiroba.
That's an exciting fight. A real clash of styles. They both are really scrappy strikers as well. I'm gonna go with Jan. I believe this is the Chinese fighter that comes out during the face-offs with the Joker face that she paints on. I think this is her.
I want to say it is, but
yeah, she's really entertaining.
Don't quote me on that. Dan Ige versus Sean Woodson. Sean Woodson right now a minus 170 favorite against Dan Ige.
I'm not counting out Dan Ige. I'm a Dan Ige fan, and that's who I'm gonna roll with.
All right, I respect that. I got Dan Ige winning this fight as well.
Also in the prelims, we got Jim Miller, UFC vet, going against a fresh face, and Chase Hooper.
Oh, I got I saw that. I believe Chase Hooper is actually the favorite in this fight. I got Chase Hooper winning that fight.
I'm taking the UFC vet. I think he's too seasoned for a guy like Hooper. And I think outside of Hooper being the younger fighter, possibly the stronger fighter, I think the veterancy of Jim Miller and just what he's been through in combat sports, I think he'll be able to outsmart Hooper.
All right, next one. Nikita Krylov versus Dominic Reyes. Nikita, which is currently a minus 190 favorite.
So I know in those previous fights we didn't give like a actual ending to the fight, but I would like to try to guess these next main card fights. So I'm actually going Dominic Reyes unanimous decision. I feel like he's on his traction back in the weight class, and he's climbing up the ranks. He's had some pretty surprising fights, and some surprising outcomes. He looks like the old Dominic Reyes that made the climb to fight John Jones for the light heavyweight title, which a lot of people think he won. And yeah, I'm excited for him and what he's able to do with this fight.
Yeah, I got Dominic Reyes winning this fight, except I have him winning a split decision. All right, next one. Bryce Mitchell versus Gene Silva. Silva currently a minus 265 favorite.
Yeah. These are the fighting nerds represented by Gene Silva. I'm going Gene Silva knocks out Bryce Mitchell round 1.
I am going Gene Silva submission round 3.
Okay. Bryce Mitchell's getting a lot of hate coming into this card.
In my opinion, fight of the night. Yair Rodriguez and Bulldog Patricio.
Patricio Pitbull.
I call him Bulldog, bro, because that dude's a dog.
He is a straight dog. Anybody that's watched Bellator or Bellator fans that have evolved into UFC fans, thanks to guys like Michael Chandler,
they know who Patricio is.
Yeah, you got to know who Patricio is. And that's why if you watch the press conference, he got his love. He got his flowers when he came out. I'm going Pitbull submission.
I am going Pitbull knockout second round.
Okay. And that's no disrespect against Yair Rodriguez, former interim champion. He's a stud, but Pitbull is a legend of the featherweight weight class.
All right, co-main event: Michael Chandler versus Paddy Pimblett. Paddy Pimblett currently a minus 150 favorite. I'm gonna start this one off. I have Paddy winning submission in the second round.
Those of you who listen to this podcast know that I am a Michael Chandler fan. I'm a Michael Chandler guy. I'm going Michael Chandler second round knockout. I think the moment is too big for Paddy Pimblett, and Chandler capitalizes to possibly once again challenge for the lightweight title. Who the champion will be, we'll see, because there is that rotation of top 5 guys in the weight class. But Chandler belongs there. And if Pimblett were to win this fight, I don't know if he gets past a Justin Gaethje, if he gets past Islam. Ilia Topuria is set to be in the mix.
It'll definitely be interesting if Patty were to win the fight. Who do they schedule him next? Maybe we see a Gaethje, but we'll see how that goes. Main event of the night for Saturday: Alexander Volkanovski versus Diego Lopez
for the vacated featherweight title.
Yep. Volkanovski currently a -125 favorite. I'll start this one off as well before we wrap up this show. I got Diego Lopez winning by split decision, going the distance.
I also have it going the distance, but I go Diego Lopez unanimously.
Unanimous.
I go unanimous.
I think there's going to be a judge that gives Volkanovski the fight just solely off veteran status.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we've seen that a lot recently in the UFC, where judges are a little more lenient towards the veterans than they are the newcomers.
Yeah. I think, it's no disrespect to a guy like Volk. He's done what he's done for the featherweight division.
Yeah. Whether, I know we've discussed this before on the podcast and off, whether this is Volk's last fight or not, it should be his last fight.
It should be his last fight.
Whether he wins or loses.
He has said that if he wins the title, he wants to be an active champion. I think he's just selling the fight. Diego Lopez will be your UFC featherweight champion by the end of 314. And a happy retirement to Alexander the Great Volkanovski.
Hey, like you just said, Volkanovski, great career. I'm gonna go down as possibly a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Absolutely.
But prior to John Jones coming back into the league, Volkanovski was undoubtedly the best pound for pound fighter. That might go to Islam now, depending on who you ask. But it's gonna be interesting. Saturday, we're booked. I'm over here. One last thing I want to say before we wrap this up, we got some we got more news coming on the way. Obviously, we're going to be live stream watch partying the NFL draft April 25th, first rounds and second rounds. And we'll kind of like doze off in the third rounds. We'll stay active with the interactors that are in our live stream. But it's going to be interesting for all sports across what we cover. And I'm excited to see what we're going to cover next week.
As far as next week, let this be a notice to all my wrestling fans out there, as we didn't cover nothing today. I got a lot I want to say, and I'm going to save it for next week because I want to see some changes as far as, some booking towards the biggest show in sports entertainment outside of the Super Bowl. It is WrestleMania.
And I already know the complaints you have. That's why I kind of didn't want to do.
It's WrestleMania season. We got WrestleMania about a week away.
Next Saturday.
Yeah. Just know I got a lot to say, so you might want to tune in. It might be a pipe bomb.
Hey, but aside that, that's going to be it. We'll see you guys next Saturday. This to CB Central.
Hey, peace.